Hi, good evening.
Kavod Haraf, how are you?
Thank God.
Baruch Hashem.
Okay. Okay, so it looks like we're on Vav here. It says, Uma she'ena potachat bebaruch pireshi. So it says, right, that if you have a blessing which doesn't open with the word Baruch, doesn't start with Baruch, Perish Rashi, the Rebbe explains, Lefi she'ena ela tefila be'alma. It's just a prayer, it's not a blessing. Tosfot writes also the same thing over there. Ve'aram Rotenberg, this rabbi in Keshaya Yotze Lederech Baboker, when he was go out to the road in the morning, his travel. There's a tour like this. I guess we'll read the tour, so we'll get all the words there, and we'll come back to this. Let's see where it is. Right, so we were talking about this short prayer that a person says when he's in a dangerous situation. It's like a little mini prayer instead of the Amidah. And says regarding this little prayer, the tour, you only have to say it once a day, he says. So what does that mean? If you're constantly like in a dangerous situation, once a day is enough. Even if he rests in the town there, in the middle of the day, why doesn't this blessing open with Baruch? The Rebbe explains, it's just a prayer. It's not really a blessing so much. Right, so we're talking about the Tfilat HaDerech over here, right? The traveler's prayer, right? As we mentioned already last time we had the class, we said you only do it once a day, this prayer. And he's going on the road and doesn't open with the word Baruch, he says, because it's only a prayer, not really a blessing. And what's the purpose of it? That you're asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he should, make your trip safe. So you should travel safely. That's the idea. The Shalom. So this is not like a blessing for some pleasure that you're getting, some kind of, right, like a food or whatever. Or it's not also like some kind of a prayer for some kind of a occasion. It's just basically, it's a request for mercies. Because So he says, since it's a little bit long, Chotmin ba bebaruch, and then in the end we do conclude with the word Baruch in the end. So even though we don't open with it, but we do finish with it. Okay. The Aram Rotenburg, this rabbi, when you go out to the road, Baboker in the morning, Haya Omra, he would say this prayer like this. Achar Yiratzon Kede Leasmicha Lebirkat Gomer. So he says he would say it after Yiratzon in order to juxtapose it to the blessing of Gomer Chasidim, to the right. He would say this, juxtapose it to this blessing. So this way, it will be a blessing which is next to its fellow blessing. So he says that you should say this prayer when? When is the proper time to say it? When you already started like traveling. He says also the tour, he should only say it if he's traveling parsah, which is 72 minutes. So if he's traveling that long, he should say this prayer. Doesn't matter, by the way, whether he's walking or driving or taking a train or a plane. Doesn't make any difference. It's all the same. But if it's less than 72 minutes, lo yachtom bebaruch, you shouldn't say with the blessing. He says if he forgot to say it, you can say it all the while that he's on the road. As long as he's still not 72 minutes away from his destination, the town. That he wants to lodge there. From there and onward, I should say without a blessing then, because the trip is not long enough to say with a blessing. Okay, beautiful. That's nice. Let's go back to the Bet Yosef. So, it says in the Bet Yosef here, this is the language of the kolbo regarding this issue. Siman Pei Zayin in chapter 87. Shalu et Aram. They asked the Ram, why do we seal the blessing of the traveler with Baruch? Because it doesn't open with Baruch. So he answers that what he does is his custom was to juxtapose it to one of the blessings. That open with the Baruch. For instance, like those those blessings, the Asher Natan, like those morning blessings that we do. Ad Kan, that's the end of it. Rabbeinu Yonah Katab Beresh Brachot. He writes in the beginning of Brachot. The Tama Mishum Dechol Bracha Shemekoma Yisemucha Lechaverta. He says the reason is because every blessing that is juxtaposed to its fellow blessing, Keshomer Ota Bifnei Atzma, when he says it by itself, Omra Kemo Shehi B'Mkoma. He says it like it's in its place, as if it's in its place. Shechotemet Be'ena Potachat. What does that mean? That he seals, it doesn't open. Tfilat HaDerech Nami, Kevan, also the blessing of the traveler. Kevan Shebetfilat Yudchet Brachot Shomea Tfilah Smucha Lechaverta. Since that the Amidah of 18 blessings, that Shomea Tfilah, this blessing is juxtaposed to its fellow blessing. If right now it's not juxtaposed to its fellow blessing, we're not concerned about that. Okay, good. So that's the end of the Bet Yosef. Let's see the Shulchan Aruch here. Yeah. So it says in the Shulchan Aruch, Zayin, Omer ota achar shechazik baderech. He says this blessing when? After he's on the road. He should only say it if he's going 72 minutes, as we said, right? At least that much time. If it's less than that, lo yachtom bebaruch. He shouldn't bless with saying the word baruch. Ve'im shachach. If he forgot. So first of all, in the parentheses, he says something interesting. In the right, the best way to do it is to say in the first parsa. What does that mean? Like when you're starting on the road, the first leg of the road of the trip, the first 72 minutes. If he forgot to say it, he can still say it while he's on the road. As long as it's still not 72 minutes after a distance from the destination city that he's going to. But he wants to lodge there. But if it's less than that, say without a blessing, because it's not really long enough to say with a blessing. That's what he's saying. Okay, good. So we got one more here to finish the chapter. So let's try this last one.
Kavod Harav, I have a question. Is it true that I don't know if it's the halacha or the custom to have a mezonot, no?
Yeah, that's like it's a stringency. It's not really necessary.
Okay, thank you.
The reason why they do that is in order that it should be juxtaposed to a blessing, like we just said now.
Okay, that's what it means.
Right, yeah, but it's not really necessary. I mean, if you don't have any food, don't worry, just say it.
Okay, thank you.
Don't worry about the crackers.
Or something to drink, no shakol, could that be?
Yeah, whatever, but it's not really necessary.
Okay, thank you.
It's a chumrah,
Okay.
So, okay, good. Let's go to Chet. Yeah, this is also an important one, especially for the guys, for the men. But so it says like this, right? Below bracha. I'm sorry. Anichnas to Bet Midrash. If he goes into the study hall, right, to study Torah there, Bet Midrash. Itpalel shelo yarat hakala al yado. So he should make this blessing, right? That he shouldn't stumble in his studies. What does that mean to stumble in studies? To say the wrong halacha, to say the wrong way, to say the wrong answer, right? To make mistakes. He's praying that Hashem shouldn't bring him to make a mistake in halacha, in answering the questions and getting to the truth of the matter, so forth and so on. Shelo yarat hakala liyado. This is the blessing, right? Like this. Shelo yechashel b'davar halacha v'lo yechashel b'davar halacha v'yismechu b'chaverai shelo amar tahor tameh ve'av tameh tahor ve'lo ala mutar asur ve'lo ala asur mutar. So what's the prayer over here? What is it saying? It's saying, right, that you shouldn't stumble and to say about something which is allowed, that it's not allowed, or something which is not allowed, which is allowed. Right? So either way, right? Either way, to make a mistake is bad. And by the way, this teaches you a good lesson, right? That people think, if somebody asks you a question, right, in halakha, whatever. So if it's something which is not allowed, and and you say it's allowed, so you cause that person to sin, by allowing him to do it. That's one bad, result that you can have. But also, there's another bad result, which is that it's allowed, and you told him it's not allowed. That's also a sin. You know what I mean? In other words, you're also causing him to err by telling him that it's not allowed. So you can't do that, and don't say, well, I'm not really sure, so I'll tell him it's not allowed. If you don't know, just say you don't know. But why tell him it's not allowed? if you're not really sure, right? First, look it up, research it, and get to the bottom of it, and then tell them what the truth. Why give them some kind of false answer? Tell them, I'll research it and I'll get back to you tomorrow, whatever it is. So yeah, okay, so that's great, but don't tell them, oh yeah, it's not allowed, because you don't know. If you don't know, don't say it's not allowed. Just say, I don't know. I'm not really sure. So either way, right? It's a problem. Either way, you have a sin. They punish you from both sides. So yeah. So it says. So this is basically the content of this prayer, and then it says, and also my fellows, right, my chavuta, who's learning with me, studying with me together, they also shouldn't make a mistake. Not only I shouldn't make a mistake, they also shouldn't make a mistake. You're also praying for him, your friends, right? That's also important. And I should, rejoice. I don't want to rejoice about his mistake, right? It's not good, by the way, to rejoice about other people's downfall. It's bad. Chazal say, right? So what? You're happy that you made a mistake? What are you happy about? You shouldn't be happy over other people's mistakes. You should be right sad about it, or whatever. I mean, you shouldn't be happy. Okay, so you shouldn't rejoice over it. You should correct him. You should tell him that he's mistaken. That you should do. Don't be afraid to tell him the truth. So yeah. So and then right and then when he leaves the Bet HaMidrash, once he leaves the study hall, so what does he say there? There's another prayer he says, right? He says, Yodeh v'yomar modeh ani lefanecha Adonai Elohai shesamta chelki im yoshvei Bet HaMidrash v'lo samta chelki im yoshvei keranot. You thank Hashem that he put your portion in the ones who study Torah. Your portion is with them, with the Bnei Torah, the people who are studying Torah, and not the people who are wasting their time, right? Watching movies and all kinds of nonsense, right? All kinds of soccer games and baseball and God knows what, right? All kinds of idiotic things. So a person shouldn't waste his time, watching some TikTok reels, whatever. Well, wasting your time with that nonsense, right? You should be so you should thank Hashem that your portion is with the Torah and not your portion is not with TikTok. Thank God, right? Whatever. Okay, so you get the idea. So yeah, so we say, right, that אני משקיעים בדברי בתורה, והם משקיעים בדברים קטנים. אני אומר למאמנים, אני אומר בקבל שכר, והם מאמנים אינם קיבלו שכר. שכר, אני רץ אליהם ורצים, אני רץ אליך העולם הבא, והם מזים לדבר שחר. So what is this prayer saying, right? You're saying that I have the portion to be with the Torah and they have the portion to be with nonsense, So they're going, down the tubes because they're doing worthless, vain pursuits which have no right to benefit to anybody. So what a waste of time. Okay, so yeah, so that's what the prayer comprises. So basically we have two prayers, right? We have one when you come in and one when you leave. That's the idea.
Kavod Harav, is this prayer also, I think you have explained in other halachot that if they arrive to the wrong conclusion, it destroys the world, correct?
Of course, yeah. This is, it's like you're killing people.
Okay.
All kinds of things. Yeah, it's like murder, destroying the world. You're right. That's what it is. So, yeah, you got to be very careful, Make sure you give people the right answer.
And therefore, you should not be rejoicing that your Havuta or the ones that are studying with you, that they're not also destroying the world.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, of course. So yeah, you don't want anybody to make any mistakes, not you and not your friend and not your chavuta and not your students, right? Nobody, right? That's the idea. Okay, very good. So yeah, let's see the Bet Yosef. So it says Bet Yosef, Besot Perek Tfilat HaShachar. This is where it is, right? In the Brachot Lamed Amud Aleph. So it asks over there, Emat Matzeh, right? When do you pray this? Amar Rav Chasda Misha she'achaz b'derech. Right, we're talking about Tfilat HaDerech, right? When do you do it? When you go on the road. Ve'ad kama Amar Rav Chasda ad parsa. How much? Until he has to be that he's traveling a parsat, 72 minutes. Peresh Rashi explains, Ve'ad kama zmana litpalel. How much time do you have to pray? Ad parsa, until the parsa, which is 72 minutes. Aval lo le'achar shalach parsa, but not after you already traveled one parsa. Ubahag and the halachat gedolot mefaresh ad kama yivakesh lelech she'tzarich litpalel. How much does he have to travel in order to say this prayer? Ad parsa, 72 minutes. Afilu im en lo lelech, even if he only has to travel ela ad parsa, only 72 minutes. Aval derech pachot mi parsa, but if it's less than 72 minutes, en tzarich litpalel tefillah zo, you don't have to pray this prayer. Katav Rosh, says the Rosh, v'nireh perush halachot gedolot. So it seems like this perush of this rabbi, im yesh lo adayin lelechet habeh. According to him, if he still has quite a while to go, lama lo yivarech, why shouldn't he bless? But if he's going less than parsa, 72 minutes, close to the city, lo have makom sakana. It's not really a place of danger there. He doesn't have to bless. Rabbeinu Yonah katav, says Rabbeinu Yonah, sheperush hanachon, that the proper explanation is diad kama have achizat haderech, how much is going on the road, litpalel ota lechatchila, to pray this prayer lechatchila leachar she'yatza min ha'ir, once he leaves the town, betoch parsa, right, within one parsa, 72 minutes travel time. Harishona ve'im shachach. And if he forgot to say, v'lo amar ota betoch harishona, he didn't say it within the first parsa. Omer ota achar kach, you can say still afterwards. Al ma sheyesh lo lelechet, because he still has a way to go. Kol zman sherav mimenu l'derech, until he still has a long way to go. Shikarev l'makom sheolech. As we said, right, he still has a parsa to go, 72 minutes. Rabbeinu tafas ikar keperush bahag. So he says the tour, paskin like the bahag. Like the Rosh agreed with this also. He shouldn't say it unless he has to go parsa, one 72 minutes. And also, if he forgot to say it, he can still say it if he's not within yet 72 minutes of the city, that he wants to dwell there. And it implies to Rabbeinu, the tour, that which we say in the Gemara, the ad kama ad parsa, how much do we go until parsa? Lomar means to say that pachot mi parsa, if it's less than parsa, lo, shouldn't say it. Hainu lomar means to say ota bracha, you shouldn't say that blessing. But if he just wants to say the prayer below bracha without the blessing, that he can do, because there's no blessing in vain, no problem. That's the way it says in the Siman Kolbo. But if he's still right within a parsa, he still has a parsa to go. He can pray and seal it ulachar parsa, but after he already got closer within a parsa, he should pray it, but not to seal it, not to say the blessing. That's what says B'Shem Samak, name of the Samak. V'katav Rabbeinu Yonah, says Rabbeinu Yonah, sheyesh makshim al perush bahag. Some ask questions about the explanation, commentary of Bahag. The bederech pachot mi parsa, if it's less than parsa, and not tzarich litpalel tefillah zo, he doesn't have to pray this prayer. V'yamrina b'Yerushalmi, like it says in Yerushalmi, kol haderachim becheskat sakana, because it says over there that all the roads are assumed to be dangerous. But Tiretz, and he answers, the Yerushalmi, it's possible that the Yerushalmi lo bekarov le'ir ma'ir. It's not talking about being close to the city. Ela be'olech b'derech. It's talking about going on the road. Ben kfarim, amongst the villages, shakolhu becheskat sakana. So because over there, everything is dangerous because it's deserted there. Whatever. There's no crowds there. והרמב"ם לא הזכיר תפילת הדרך. So he says, the Rambam didn't even mention the prayer of the traveler. אלא שכתב בפרק י' בהלכות ברכות, rather he just says over there in this place, שכשיצא מן העיר, when he comes out of the city, בשלום, in peace, יאמר מודה אני לפניך אדוני אלוהי, should say this prayer, that I thank you Hashem, שהוצאתני מכרך זה, that you brought me out of the city, shalom, peace, וכשם שהוצאתני לשלום, just like you brought me out in peace, כך תוליכני לשלום, you should also now let me go in peace, תצעידני לשלום, ותשמחני לשלום, and let me travel in peace, תצילני מכף כל אויב ורוע בדרך, and you should save me from all the dangers, עד כאן, that's the end of the Rambam, ויש לי תמוה, so he says there's a wonder here about the Rambam, the says Beit Yosef. What's the wonder? למה לא הזכיר בה חתימה? Why didn't he mention the sealing of this blessing, right? Which is also part of this prayer, right? What's the seal? How do you seal it? You say, Baruch atah Hashem shomea tefillah. This is the way you seal it. וגם למה לא כתב דמצלה לה משאחז בדרך? And also, why didn't he write that he should also say it when he goes on the road, ad parsa, 72 minutes? So in other words, he's having some questions about the Rambam here. He didn't mention the whole halakha from beginning to end. But anyway, right, as we saw in the Shulchan Aruch already, we don't go like the Rambam. What does that mean? That we do say it once you get on the road. You can already start saying the blessing. And so therefore, right, as we said, you should say it, and as long as you're traveling 72 minutes, this is the criterion that we have. That's the custom of the Sfaradim also. Okay, good. So then he goes on. Let's go to the next one, which is the last one, Beit Yosef. We're talking now about the prayer when he goes into the study hall, Beit HaMidrash. Right. So what do we say about this? Sham. Where is the source of this? Kaf Chet Amud Bet in Brachot. Katav Rabbeinu Gadol Maria Avuhav. Says this rabbi. Talmidei Ri Pirshu. Right. These rabbis, the students of the Ri, explained. They shouldn't write, my friends shouldn't stumble in halakha, and I shouldn't rejoice in them, right? In other words, I shouldn't be happy that they stumbled. That's also a prayer. He was praying that this fellows should not stumble, and then it's going to cause the damage, this whole thing, by saying the wrong halakha. That he's going to be happy because they stumbled. So it says he should have said, apparently, mehem לפי הנראה היה מתפלל שיהיה לו שמחה וגיל בהם, שהתורה היא שמחה לעוסקים בה. So what is he saying over here? He's saying that he was praying. From this language, it implies that he was praying that he should be rejoicing with them because they're studying together Torah. Torah is simcha, because the Torah is joy. Leoskimba, to the ones who would learn Torah. And not what she says, right? That I'm running and they're running, right? In other words, I'm running to Torah, they're running to do all kinds of nonsense, TikTok, right? All kinds of crazy stuff. Rabbeinu Yonah. Says Rabbeinu Yonah, why didn't he need now again to return and say the same thing? Isn't it also already included in what he said? That I write work and I get rewarded for my work in Torah. And they work in nonsense and they don't get rewarded for that. That's already something else. It's a different prayer altogether, a different facet there. So what he wants to say is that when I see that the days are passing, I feel that I'm running. I feel that I'm running every day and getting closer to death. Therefore, I prepare, some provisions on the way. that I should merit the life in the world to come, right? Meaning what? That I study Torah, so I should have life in the world to come. But they don't feel their death. In other words, they don't put their mind to it that one day they're gonna die. They don't pay attention to it. So therefore they're not preparing their provisions, which is the Torah. They don't pay attention to that. תפילת הדרך ותפילת הנכנס לבית המדרש והודעת יציאתו מבית המדרש היו ראויים להיכתב לקמן. So he says these prayers that we talked about going into the study hall and coming out, they were fitting to write them b'siman reish lamed. They really should have been written in chapter 230 because it resembles those prayers over there. So why did Rabbeinu the two write them over here in this chapter? Because they are in the chapter of Tfilat HaShachar and the Masechet in Tractate Brachot. Like other things in this chapter, they're in the same chapter. So that's why they put them over here. But he says regarding the prayers of leaving a walled city and coming into a walled city, those are written over there in chapter 230. We'll see it over there B'ezras Hashem when we get there. So that's the end of the Bet Yosef. Very good. So we'll do the Shulchan Aruch and we'll finish the chapter here. So says Shulchan Aruch, Nichnas לבית המדרש, יתפלל. When a person goes into the Bet HaMidrash, study hall, right? He prays what? What's the prayer he says? יהי רצון מלפניך, אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, שלא יחשב בדבר הלכה, right? That Hashem, right, should have His will, should be His will, that I shouldn't stumble in halacha, and so forth and so on, as we said. When he comes out, he says, I thank you, Hashem, right, my God, I thank you that you put my portion, right? You made my portion with the ones who study Torah and the Bet HaMidrash, not the ones who are right watching TikTok, all kinds of nonsense like that, right? Baruch Hashem, I'm in the right place, the right time. Okay, great. So that's what we do when we go into the Bet HaMidrash and we come out, right? So this is the halacha. It's an important halacha, actually. A person should try to be careful about that, especially the men, because the women don't really go into the Bet HaMidrash to study. They study at home, so it's not really so relevant. But the people who go and study in the study hall, so they should make this blessing. And also a person, who has a private Bet HaMidrash, as we said, right, in his house, let's say. He studies at home, and that's his Bet HaMidrash. He studies there every day, right, on a daily basis, on a continual basis. So he should also say it there, right? Why not? That's also Bet HaMidrash. It's a private Bet HaMidrash, as we already mentioned, right? That's very similar to having a public Bet HaMidrash. Okay, so anyway, right, that's the story. We finished the chapter. So I guess we'll stop here. We'll do a little bit short because I'm still recovering. I thank you for all your prayers and support and all these good wishes for helping me to get back to reality, to get back to health. God bless you all. Be blessed with wealth, health, happiness. Amen. Amen. Chazak Baruch. We'll see you tomorrow, 8:30. B'ezras Hashem. We can start 8:30 because the days are getting shorter. So we don't have to wait till 8:45. Okay. Chazak Baruch.
Kavod.